I want to share a secret with you, a secret that is already inside you. Once you understand it fully, it has the capacity to unlock untold potential. It is the science of yourself, of your own hormones. You might think you possess this knowledge already, but I can promise you there is so much more to learn, and when you have, you will be able to harness it forever. Until a few years ago, hormones were not something I had ever paid much attention to. They were just something I'd learnt about briefly in school and part of the monthly hassle of bleeding for 5 days. I simply did not know how important hormones are in connecting our minds and our bodies. Then, one day, my period stopped. And what had been a gross inconvenience each month became a barometer for my body's health and mental happiness. The outcome of my own hormonal burnout was driven by stress. My body started to show signs, but I had not been trained to know what to look for. I can't identify the exact moment this happened, but the most significant sign was my period stopping. My body bloated up, and my mind was racked with chronic anxiety. It was a shock that I needed in order to listen to what my body had been desperately trying to tell me. Slow down. We're about to hit a wall. I was 24 when I had started a business that connected marketing with a new generation of social networks. I was young, but at the centre of a new digital decade and fiercely ambitious. However, for all my work drive, I had been living clumsily within my own skin for my whole life. There came a point where my ambition and my lack of understanding about stress, hormones, and balance meant I pushed my body too far, to the point of burnout. It took a while to piece myself back together. My new focus became trying to understand how my body worked, to establish why and how I had pushed myself so far. I consulted every kind of doctor I could think of, as well as nutritionists, personal trainers, and endocrinologists. An endocrinologist was not a doctor I had ever heard of until my hormones went haywire. We might be familiar with gynecologists, a concept most of us know about from films or shows like Sex and the City, but it took me a while to realise my hormones had their own specialists too. All of these experts encouraged me to keep journals about my health, but none of them seemed to put the pieces together for me. In fact, in the early days, none of them even really connected my lack of periods with stress. However, it was these analogue journals that planted the seed which would eventually become the foundations for Moody Month, the app I went on to create to help women track their cycles, moods, and symptoms. I'm obsessed with research, science, and data in all areas of my life, so I started by treating myself like a study, plotting my cycle on a daily basis, and also charting how I felt, the symptoms I experienced, and what was going on around me. I read widely and consulted some of the best doctors and women's health practitioners and became fascinated by the science. I fangirled medics such as Dr. Jen Gunter, Dr. Angela Saini, and Dr. Elisa Vitti in the hormonal equivalent of obsessing over the music of the Beatles, Backstreet Boys, or One Direction, subject to your age and hairstyle preference. I couldn't stop talking about it. I was the girl at every party, wedding, or dinner going on about hormones. One of my friends even started calling me, charmingly, Menstru Amy. With all this personal data, I was able to connect the dots between my peaks of stress and anxiety to when my cycle would become most disrupted. I began to see how the external patterns of my world were affecting the internal patterns of my hormones and health. What happens to me when I don't listen to my body is that my periods stop. My body clenches up and I become tight. I constantly feel like I'm just about to drop from the highest point on a white-knuckle roller coaster. The longer my body is in this state of tension, the more manic and frantic my mental state becomes. In hindsight, it's laughable how little I knew about my own body,